Hello and welcome once again to another great edition of the Internet Citadel Show. I'm Brian Kelly, one of your co-hosts. Kathy Stover to my, I think it's left, is our other co-host. What I'd like to do is open the show by briefly introducing my wonderful, beautiful, and talented friend and business partner, Kathy Stover. She's been an operations manager and sales manager with over 25 years of experience, all of which with a Fortune 500 company. Very, very impressive. She has affiliate marketing experience dating back to the early 90s, and I always say this, I affectionately call her the affiliate marketing queen because this woman knows how to market online like no other I have ever known personally. In addition to that, she has network marketing experience, also known as MLM or multi-level marketing, dating back to the mid-'80s. So you start to see a little trend here. The word marketing seems to appear throughout her bio. In addition to that, she is extremely well versed in all aspects of social media marketing, so you definitely want to hook up with her if you need to boost, say, your following on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, run the gamut. She knows how to do that. On top of that, she is also a power seller with eBay. Has the certificate to prove it. It's hanging on her wall somewhere back there in that room. In addition to that, she also has another certificate that says top rated seller on eBay. With that, I'd like to introduce my wonderful friend and co-creator of this very show, Kathy Stover. How you doing, Kathy?
Brian, I'm doing great, and thank you so much as always. You just put me out there just tremendously. I really, really appreciate it. I am so excited about our guest tonight, but first I want to talk about you, my friend. You've got over 23 years of software engineering experience, and for 6.5 years co-owned a travel-based multi-level marketing company. You too have got a myriad of multi-level marketing companies under your belt, and we have since moved away from that. You are also the creator of the Internet Citadel Show, along with being a social media consultant. And I always like to point down below, guys, he has got tweet performance. Oh, sorry, no, lost my thought there. Brian created Tweet Performance, so for any of you that are having any difficulty or issues with working Twitter, I'm telling you his videos and the product is bar none the best that I've seen. The other thing that I want to tell you is that Brian puts all the technology together that we have every week, and I just want to thank you so much, Brian, for being here with me every Tuesday night so that we can bring excellent guests like the guy we've got going tonight. I'm going to say thank you so much, my friend, and turn it back to you so we can get him going.
Oh, I cannot wait to get started. This gentleman that we have coming on our show tonight is someone both Kathy and I have been waiting for a very long time. We could not wait for this night to arrive. It is finally here, so let's get rolling. Our guest's name is Maurice Domino. He is the Sicilian Mentor. Maurice is an award-winning speaker, author, and mentor. He created the Sicilian Mentor presentation template. He has coached executives, entrepreneurs, and celebrities. They have used his template and they have turned their number one fear, that is the fear of public speaking, into their number one asset. Presentations that sell. Maurice's clients have sold more products, converted more prospects into raving fans, and they have raised the awareness of causes and charities across America. Speaking of charities, Maurice might mention one that he's gearing up to run a marathon for here in the very near future. Imagine taking the number one fear, the fear of public speaking, and making it your number one asset. Maurice Domino helps you do just that. He trains executives and entrepreneurs how to use their presentations as an income-generating tool for their product, service, or charity. He has developed an easy-to-use template so that you can be passionate, poised, and prosperous with your presentations. He has taken his latest book, a book that Kathy and I have both read, The Art of Public Speaking, and made it into a boot camp where participants create their presentations right there on the spot. He has given over, check this, 1,500 presentations in over 5 years on the road. That is a lot of presentations. And battle-tested techniques for you to, quote-unquote, kill from the stage with confidence, character, and charisma. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce you to our very, very special guest, Maurice Domino. How you doing, Maurice?
Fantastic, Brian. Hey, Kathy, how are you? So good to be here on the Internet Citadel Show. Ba-ba-bum.
Right on.
And not only that, what I love is we got I've been touting this, that not only do people get to hear the Sicilian Mentor, but they get to see the Sicilian Mentor. So it could be scary or it could be entertaining. I don't know which one.
No, I think it's going to be very entertaining, and what you've got to share with our viewers tonight, lots of awesome content to help the people that come in and watch. We're excited.
I'm looking forward to it.
We're absolutely excited to get going.
Beautiful.
You know what I wanted to ask you? Why is public speaking so important for our listeners to achieve greater success? But not just our listeners, Brian and I as well. Why is that important?
You know, I found it interesting when Brian was introducing you, and then Kathy, you were introducing Brian, and all your accolades and everything that you guys do. But it's amazing. No matter what we do in our lives, there's got to be a point where someone's got to say something. I believe this: nothing happens until someone says something. So this is not only regarding sales, but even just to convince people about a social networking technique, or how to use Twitter in a certain way. You got to be able to communicate it in a certain way. And of course, the number one tool we use is public speaking. So you better believe it. Public speaking, no matter what walk of life you're in, it's going to be helpful for you. So if you're a small business owner, an entrepreneur, a networker, or even a mom and dad, you got to be able to vocalize, say what you want, what's on your mind, so that the receiver, the people receiving your information, understand. And then not only that, you persuade them, you convince them, and not only that, you get them and move them into action so that they do exactly what you're saying. So public speaking is very important.
Now, Maurice, a lot of us are sure.
One of the things. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Just a lot of us have
They're
our own.
anxious.
Yes. Oh, I'm telling you, I'm not kidding anyone when we are excited. We are very excited about this. But
yeah.
We all have our own, I guess, thought of what public speaking is all about. But when it comes to public, you are an absolute professional. You have done over 1,500 presentations in 5 years. I don't know anybody that comes close. I'm sure others have, but personally, you're the top. What is public speaking by your definition?
For me, what I've done is I look at public speaking as a tool. I have 20 years experience in sales. Prior to my public speaking experience, I have 20 years in sales. Now, I know that from my experience that part of the sales cycle, part of that is the presentation, where you ultimately get your clients in front of you. And now we're talking anywhere where you have one person, 5 people, 15, 50, wherever, and it could be taking place in a living room, in a boardroom, in a Rotary, or even the Staples Center. And guess what? You finally have to present your ideas. You have to create what I call a transactional presentation, and that where you give a presentation and you want a transaction at the end of it. So what I did from my years of experience, I knew that when I had my clients finally in front of me, when I got to that point in the sales cycle, I needed to, at the end of that presentation, have something happen, a call to action. Now, I didn't want people just to say, hey, great presentation, pat me on the back and send me on my way. I wanted something to happen, either to get their email address, to get further information, or better yet, ultimately, to have them sign the dotted line. So what I did is I came up with a presentation template so that it leads the prospects through a step-by-step formula so that when I do reach the end, there is a transaction. So you better believe it. For me, when it comes to presentations, I look at it this way, Brian. Why do 100 cold calls when you could do one warm call in front of a room of 100 or 5 to 10 or 100 people, and that be much more convincing? And again, they say that when it comes to our skill set, be it whether no matter what business you're in, the number one skill to have is communications. And at the top of that communication list is public speaking. So you better believe it. I don't care what people's background is. I don't care what you're doing. I don't care if you have a product, a service, or a charity. Guess what? You're going to open your mouth and you're finally going to make that presentation, and you need to convince someone that your product is the one, that your service is the one to select, or better yet, your charity, your cause is something that I like to get involved with, be it with my time or my dollars. So why not take that number one fear, and let's not forget that public speaking is the number one fear out there, and turn it into our number one asset. So that's what I've done. I wanted to take what comes easily, what had come easily to me, which is the sales process, and my passion. I absolutely love public speaking. I love it. I love talking about it. I love doing it. I love presenting it. I love coaching it. I mean, I just love it. So why not combine the both and come up with what I call as transactional presentation, so that you, Kathy, or anyone that's listening or watching in, they'll follow this template, and guess what? At the end of it, they will move their product. They will get their service signed up. Or better yet, again, you could use this for charities or causes that people say, you know what, yeah, I want to get involved. Or you know what, here's my time, here's my dollars, this is worthwhile. Let me be part of this great cause. So you better believe it. Public speaking is a tool we can use right now, here today. I don't care where you're at in life, and you best be the number one person out there when it comes to it. You know why? Because everyone else is fearful of it. Well, because everyone else is fearful of it, right? So if the majority of people are fearful of the number one skill set to use, which is public speaking, just think, if you're good at it, I'm not talking about great. I'm just saying, if you're just good at it, while the majority of people fear it, you're going to stand out. You're going to stand out. You're going to move from good to great just by being good at public speaking. So I encourage everyone to really hone that skill set of public speaking.
Well, I want to ask you, I've been involved in public speaking from time to time throughout the years, in different venues. Why do we feel that fear? Now, even when I was in front of a group of peers, I felt comfortable, but when I got up there, I had that overwhelming sense of fear. Is that good? Is it normal? And how do we get past that so that we're effective in our presentation?
Great question.
Kat, that is a great question. Thank you so much. Kathy, guess what? That is normal. And what I like to say, I want to break that question down in different levels. First off, where is that fear coming? Well, that fear is really the fear of the unknown. I really believe this. I believe that public speaking is the closest we'll ever get to showing up naked in public. So right away, because we're letting down our guard, we're letting people. Yeah, yikes! You better believe it. Yeah, we're actually naked in public. We always have those dreams of showing up. What is the number one fear dream? Is that we show up to school naked, or show up in public naked, or the test and we're not ready for the test. Well, this is as close as we're going to get to being naked in public, because you know why? Because we're going to let a group of strangers, even well-wishers, know how we feel. So we're actually baring ourselves to the public. And we're fearful about that. Am I going to come across clearly? Are they going to understand me? Am I going to make mistakes? Am I going to look foolish? So it is the fear of the unknown. Now, let's use that to our advantage. And what I mean by that is this. I believe fear, that those butterflies in our stomach, the sweaty palms, not sure of what we're going to do next. I believe that's our body asking us one question and one question only. And what our mind is asking us is this: are you prepared? That's all it's asking. And what we do is, by having that nervousness, having that fear, it's going to push us to be prepared, so that we're going to do our best. So as long as that fear is there, we have to understand that that's our body asking us to be prepared. So what my suggestion to people is this: for everyone that's watching and listening to this, be as prepared as you can be. Can you be prepared perfectly? No. Now let me answer that question right now. Can you be ultimately prepared? And the answer is no. So as my father, Dr. Alfonso Divino, said, Maurice, prepare as best as you can, and then let it go. And then what we got to realize is this: is that at that point, when we feel, you know what, I've prepared as best as I can for this presentation coming up, then we got to take that fear, and instead of thinking of that fear as being, upset or worried, we got to turn it into excitement. We're excited to speak to the next group, wherever our presentation is going to take us. So yes, Kathy, the fear of public speaking. In fact, it's documented. In the United States, it is the number one fear as compared to the fear of death. And I always love this saying. According to Jerry Seinfeld, that means if that's the number one fear, people would rather be in the casket than giving the eulogy.
Wow.
And I say, why go out dying? I'd rather go out fighting. why not? Let's break it down. Fear is again our body asking us, are we prepared? So prepare as best as we can. And that's why when I had to do all those presentations in sales, I'm like, okay, how can I best prepare for that? And quite simply, if I had a template, a blueprint, step-by-step things that I'm addressing, I'm making sure that I'm lining up all my ducks, all the points that I want to cover, so that when I reach the end, guess what? I'm best prepared for that presentation. Then my fear is lessened. Does it go away? No. But then I turn into excitement. Then I say, okay, I've prepared as best as I can. Now I'm excited for that next presentation. So Kathy, never let go of that fear and use it for you. So prepare as best as you can. Use templates, use what you can, and to easily put yourself in a position so you could be best prepared for your next presentation.
And that's what's really nice, because of the blueprint that you provide actually helps us do that. So we need to have something like that along our journey. Wouldn't you agree, Brian?
Absolutely. I mean, a perfect segue, because I was just about to talk about Maurice Domino. This is the man we are interviewing tonight on our show. You see his nose. If you're on internetcitadel.com, just up to our left, you see a gorgeous picture of this handsome gentleman. And he's got a nose right there in the middle. If you click right on that nose, you'll get to learn more about Maurice. It has his bio, everything about the man that you definitely want to know. But also beneath us, there is a nice banner regarding a boot camp that Maurice will be conducting. I believe it's in October, if I'm correct on that, Maurice.
That is correct.
What we'd like to do is, a little bit further down on the show, is give you an opportunity to tell everybody exactly what that boot camp entails. Kathy and I definitely want to be at this one. For those watching, you can see on the screen now in one of the lower quadrants there is an actual picture of the cover of his latest book, The Art of Public Speaking. That's the one we've been discussing. If you go to his website, that second link on the bottom, and scroll down to the bottom, you can obtain a copy for yourself. Highly, highly recommend it. Very nice, easy, quick read, only 96 pages long, but chock full of information. Definitely get a copy. Read it. You won't put it down, because if you have any intention of becoming a public speaker, this is the book to start with. This gentleman, once again, 1,500 presentations in just a 5-year span. That's incredible. That's mind-blowing to me, personally. But what I wanted to ask you, Maurice,
Brian,
go ahead.
Yes. No, I was going to say, this book is great. Yes, I agree with you. The book is great. The boot camp is great for those who want to be speakers. But I want to address this point. Not only did I make this so that people could be speakers, but again, really one of the other reasons I made this book is so that people do have a template. They do have a blueprint, so that if they have a product, a service, or a charity, and again, I'm not talking about being a public speaker, not being like a Tony Robbins or what have you, but if you do have to present as part of your MLM, as part of your insurance product, as part of your car wash service, why not have a template that helps you move your message forward and make it easier? And again, as I said, I believe that this template will help you prepare as best as possible so that it will reduce your fear. You'll come across as being charismatic, you'll have confidence, and guess what? Your character, who you are, will come across. And I always say this in all my boot camps. You want a perfect presentation? Well, that's easy. I'll give you the formula. Right here's the formula. Get ready to write this down. Here's the formula for a perfect presentation. You ready, Kathy? I see you got your pen and paper ready. All right. So this is what I want everyone. Thank you, Brian. This is what I want. You want a perfect presentation? I want you to write out your entire presentation. That's it. Write it out word for word. All right. Then print it out. Go to a copy center. Make 50 copies. And then at your presentation, distribute those 50 copies. Ask the participants to read it, and ask if there's any questions. There you go, a perfect presentation.
I love it.
Oh, if it was only that easy, ladies and gentlemen. So that's what I'm saying. So again, yes, if you want to be a public speaker, a great resource, the boot camp and the book. But also, again, for my friends out there that are watching and listening, again, I believe nothing happens until someone says something. So again, if you want to create that transaction at the end of your presentation, then definitely you may want to check out. I encourage you to check out my book, which is in hard copy, as well as now is available in ebook, and the boot camp, which we'll be talking about in a bit.
Excellent.
That's awesome. You know, when you're getting up to do public speaking, right? And I know that when you have people that come in that get involved in your blueprint program to get started, you've got some sort of step-by-step basis. But I have an additional question to the step-by-step process. Is part of that telling your own personal story? And the reason I say that, Maurice, is because Brian and I have been to different events, which we always say is extremely important, because you can see different people's style and how they present. One thing I've noticed is some folks will talk about, you know, when they were a kid and going to school, and others will talk about later in adulthood. How important is that to the process, and is that part of the step-by-step or one of the steps that you teach in your template that you put together?
Kathy, you're very observant in that. First off, I congratulate you and Brian too, and I encourage everyone, watch other speakers. In fact, I encourage when I have people come to my boot camp, I say take 2 sets of notes. One set of notes is the content, what the content of the presentation is about. And the other set of notes is observe the speaker. See how they're delivering their message. See how they're using the stage. See how they're using overheads, PowerPoints, so that you're taking notes of the actual presentation. Now, you're very observant. What you're watching those speakers do, professional speakers in particular do this, they want to address a point, usually at the very beginning. And this is what I tell my coaching clients as well as the boot camp and in my book, that we have to let the audience know who we are. All right? I call this the way, the who are you. And you want to address this at the very beginning, because the reason being is that when we speak to people, and in fact at my last boot camp, I think Les Brown said it the best. Les Brown, one of the top 10 speakers in the world, he shared my stage at my last boot camp, and I never forget what he said. He told everyone in attendance there, he said, now understand this, that when you speak, you're speaking to 2 audiences. Yes, you're speaking to the physical audience in front of you, and you're also speaking to the audience in everyone's mind. And you got to break through that clutter, because we got to understand that every 90 seconds, and they've done scientific research on this, every 90 seconds our brain starts to travel and think of other things, because we don't speak fast enough that our brain is processing information that quickly. So what we got to do is we got to break through that clutter. And one of the piece of clutter that we got to break through is that the audience's brain at the beginning, they're asking themselves this question: why should I listen to you? I would say 50% of the audience, as soon as they introduce you, they pretty much answer the question why they invited you to speak with the introduction. But 50% of your audience is thinking, why should I listen to this guy? Why should I listen to this woman for the next half hour, 2 days, 3 days, next 6 months, or what have you? So we got to address that point right at the top. So that's why I suggested early on in the opening of your presentation, include what I call the way, the who are you. Now you could take this back to your childhood. This could take it to the last turning moment of your life. And what I affectionately call it, I call it your Oprah moment. Have you ever watched Oprah, Kathy or Brian?
Oh, yes. Yes.
All right. Now sometimes she has guests on there, right? And you know they're gazillionaires, right? They're doing really well. And Oprah always asks the same question: how did you get here? And this is where the person kind of quiets, and they tell about this really depressed life that they had, and they were really sad, and they start crying, and you know they lived in a small thatched hut, or they lived in a Winnebago, or they lived on the streets. Then they followed this system, or they listened to that person, or what have you. Then bing bang boom, next thing you know, they're a gazillionaire. In fact, one of the top speakers out there, Anthony Robbins, you listen to him, he uses the way in practically all of his presentations, where he talks about his 600 square foot apartment in Redondo Beach, California. He talks about it in every presentation, and I love it, and the audience loves it too, because they hear it over and over again. But why does he do that? Because right then and there, he tells the audience, listen, I was in a position just as you are, or possibly even worse, so I'm just like you. I followed a system that now is making me successful, be it monetarily, spiritually, physically, or materially. So now we've addressed that question. Why should I listen to you? Because what the audience is thinking at this point, if you've answered that question appropriately, they should be asking, well, if you could do it, how do I go about doing it? And there, it sets us up to go into the body of our speech. So definitely, if people that are watching and listening to the Internet Citadel show, if you could take anything away when you do your presentation, you do want to include that turning point where you went from a zero to a hero, where you went from rags to riches. Why? Because your audience doesn't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And with your rags to riches story, from your zero to hero story, you're going to let them know that you've experienced bad times, and by doing certain things, your system, that person's system, drinking this drink or being part of this charity or whatever it may be, that now your life is turned around. So that by the end of the way, as I call it, now the audience is asking a better question. How can I do that? And that will lead you into the rest of the thing. So again, we're going piece by piece, answering what's going on in the audience's mind, and then setting us up for success for the next point to the next point, which leads us to the end of our presentation, where ultimately we want our audience to ask, how do I take you home with me? That's the ultimate question we want to answer.
I'm telling you, I have so many questions now that I hope everybody's available to stick around for another 2 hours, because we've got the Sicilian mentor on our show, and we're not letting him go now. This is.
Oh, you got me. You got me trapped. You got me trapped in this square here. I can't escape this square. I am caught here.
I actually have 2 questions now, leading into
please
going forward. One is for those that don't have, say, a product or something that they've. Let's say you don't have a rags to riches story, or any kind of incredible success yet. Can people like that be speakers, number one? Let's just start with that one. Let's go with that and see what kind of people can actually walk across the stage and become a professional speaker. Do they have to have that kind of pedigree in their background?
Well, let me say this. If you, as you may mention, a product, a service, or a charity, a drink, or what have you, and they're just beginning, we got to realize this, is that as soon as you join an organization, let's say an MLM, or you have a product that you're associated with, a service or a charity, well, guess what? You do become that expert. Every product, every service, every charity has their fact sheet. So as soon as we become experienced and knowledgeable about what our product does, what our service does, guess what? We are now a knowledge expert in that. And that's what I say. If you know a little bit more than the next person, you're an expert in it. And I'm going to say something that's going to shock everyone, and I learned this from the best of the best. Tony Robbins said this, and he said, fake it till you make it. Now, I know a lot of people say, well, how can I do that? Well, you got to start somewhere. You know, we're not born into riches. Well, not the majority of people. So we got to slowly get ourselves there. Now, Brian, to answer another question that you had in there, how do we go about getting that experience if we don't have that story, if we don't have that in our back pocket? Well, I know a lot of products, a lot of services, as well as charities and causes, they already have built-in success stories. So why not tap into those? You know, for example, I was involved with Isogenics. Well, when I first started Isogenics, I wasn't successful at it, but they had a whole laundry list, in fact, websites full of success stories that I could have tapped into, or other people could have tapped into, so that when I said, hey, you want to check out Isogenics? And if somebody says, were you successful with it? No, I've just started, and I'm seeing great results, but hey, check this out. So this is my suggestion for Brian, for Kathy, and everyone else there. This is what I'd like you to do. I want you to start 2 story files. 2 story files. One virtual on your computer, where now when you see stories come in on the internet, people email you quotes, stories, rags to riches, zero to hero stories. I want you to start collecting those. Also, I want you to start a hard copy file. So that's the second file, a hard copy file. So as you're reading newspapers, magazines, you're going to tear them out and put them in that hard copy file. Okay. Now, as part of that virtual file, I also want you to start crafting, and that's the international symbol for typing. I want you to start typing out your story. Because I can guarantee you there's a story in there. If you look deep enough, and I believe this, a lot of people, they don't want to toot their own horn. When I coach people, when it comes to the way, they have the hardest time with this. Why? And it comes across that, well, I don't want to tell people that I'm rich, or I don't want to tell people that I'm successful. Isn't that tooting my own horn? Well, guess what? Then you're never going to be able to relate to the audience members that you were successful with it. Because guess what? As soon as you take that stage, as soon as you stand up in that living room to address your audience of 5 people to 5,000 people at the Staples Center, guess what? As soon as you stand up, you're instantly known as an expert. So again, going back to what you said, Brian, about what happens if I'm not an expert. Well, as soon as you call a meeting, as soon as you stand up, the audience will perceive you as the expert on the topic which you're ever about to cover. So let's get that. So for everybody watching and listening right now, I want you to know this, that when you call that presentation, whatever your presentation is, congratulations, now you're the expert. And I want you to own that. All right? And now, prior to that presentation, I want you to start cultivating your stories, other people's stories, on what brought you here today. What got you to this point? Now, when you use your stories, by all means, you could say, this is my story. And yes, you could use other people's stories. Just give them credit. Say, for example, I always say, Mark Victor Hansen always says, the number one success tip is make sure you write everything down. Nothing exists until you write it down. There. I prefaced it. I said it's a Mark Victor Hansen tip. Now I can continue talking about Mark Victor Hansen, or I can continue talking about writing. And not only that, I can continue to be the expert on public speaking. So yes, I want you to know right now that you, as soon as you call that presentation, as soon as you call that meeting of loved ones, of total strangers, whatever it is, you're the expert. Start collecting those stories, yours and others, and guess what? You're well on your way of presenting the way, the who are you.
What a great tip. Let me ask you this. Do you have to have leadership skills to be a great public speaker, or is that not a necessity?
A lot of people say that public speaking is an innate talent. In other words, people are born with it. I agree and disagree with that. I agree that some people have innate ability to do it, and that's a key word there, ability. I do believe, Kathy, that public speaking is a craft, is a skill. Just like anything else. If we were talking about cabinet making, and I always use this example in all my seminars, in my boot camps. If this was a boot camp on how to make cabinets, guess what? Your first cabinet would be, in 2 words, PU. It would be the worst. But slowly and surely, by following blueprints, by following directions, your 100th, your 500th, your 1000th cabinet is going to be beautiful. So let's understand that public speaking is a craft. I don't care what level you're at, what skill level you think you're at, you got to begin somewhere. And just know that you're going to keep adding to it. Now, are you going to be great? Probably not. But you're going to be pretty darn good. So why not gather all the resources out there, make this as easy as possible for you. And if you, again, consider public speaking your number one fear, then definitely make it easy for you. Gather all those resources around you so that you can have a step-by-step method so that when you do present, it comes easily to you. You come out. And there's an interesting point right there, Kathy. When we do public speaking, we don't want it to be perfect. I'd rather have all the ums, uhs, and scratching of the foreheads and all that, because when your audience comes to see you, guess what? They don't come to see a perfect presentation. They have come to see you present that message. So if you're not fully present there, you're not of service to your audience. So again, I think what we got to do is we got to understand that public speaking is not a talent. It is a skill. And yes, by practicing, by implementing certain tips and techniques, we can get very good at it.
My goodness, you have just put a calm over everyone.
That brings up an interesting...
You just put a calm over everyone that, you don't have to be a perfectionist. You don't have to be a skilled, polished presenter right out of the chute. You don't have to be a proven expert in any one field and have a rags to riches story. basically it sounds like virtually anyone, very close to anyone, can actually become and embark on a speaking career or use it, as you said, in their current vocation, trade, or charitable events.
No, definitely.
You know,
Let me tell you something. This is an open field. This is an open field to everyone. And again, I don't care what your background is or what your skill level is. Why not use it? And again, I'm going to go back to what I said before. If the majority of people are afraid to do it, you're going to stand out in the crowd. You're not going to be part of the herd, right? In other words, we want to. And you said, Kathy, you said about being a leader or having that leadership skills. Just think, by using public speaking, you do become a leader outside of the herd. Instead of being part of that herd mentality, you do because now you're using something that the majority of people are afraid to use. So why not use it to our best of our abilities?
You know, one of the things that came to my mind is different styles, okay? And I was so impressed when we were at Craig Duswald's boot camp a couple of months ago, and you were there. You were up on stage, and one of your mantras is "kill from the stage," and I was like, oh my gosh, what is this guy all about, right? And
Right.
I just love it. It's so cool, and I know Brian does too. We talked about it. You know, it's absolutely wonderful. So how important is it to create or have a distinctive style when you are involved in, like, public speaking for a living and making money at public speaking?
There's an interesting point. When you say, kill from the stage, that, of course, that's part of my brand. I'm Maurice Domino, the Sicilian mentor. So I'm going to tell it like it is. I'm going to tell you how to kill from the stage, how to create that family situation, how to make it passionate. Because let me tell you something, Italians and Sicilians, they're passionate about everything. I mean, they were even passionate about how many scoops of sugar go into a cup of espresso. Look, I'm getting passionate just right now. So again, I have to share this. I believe this is that we all have our unique style. And it goes back to what I said before. If you, whoever that is, presents themselves, that's it. That's being unique. I'm not asking anyone to do a cookie cutter. When it comes to my template in my book, The Art of Public Speaking, at the end of it, I said, okay, here's some great tips and techniques. Now throw it all away and use what works for you. My father called it chemistry. You take a little bit of this, you take a little bit of that, you shake it up and you use what works for you. And the rest of it, you could throw it out. But we got to get there. We got to get on the stage in a clear, concise way so that we can deliver a message in a clearly, succinctly way and to lead the audience on a journey. Let's not forget that. Now, public speaking is unique, that as soon as we say something, that's it. What we said is out into the ether. It'll never come back again. So we have to make sure we lead our audience on a journey, that we're taking them down this pathway, that it's clear, it's concise, and they're following us step by step. Because remember, I said before, every 90 seconds, the brain wants to check out. So if you miss one of those 90-second cycle, that's it. You're going to start losing audience members. So let's make it easy for us. Let's go down that pathway. Now, by having that pathway, what that tells me is this, is that I could take my style, whatever it is, and I could overlay it on top of that template. So now I could be fully present, so that if someone has a comment, if there's vocal remarks, in other words, your audience members are reacting positively or negatively about what you're saying, you can react right then and there. Because why? Because you have a template, you have this roadmap that you can follow that will maintain your course. Right? As Stephen Covey once says, we begin with the end in mind. Having this roadmap in place, I could be whoever I want to be. And what I suggest to our audience members out there, the best person you could be is be you. Now, getting back to brands and all that, I'm very fortunate, and I thank God for this, is that my brand, the Sicilian Mentor, I never forget, one of my coaches, Cheryl Roush, about 5 or 6 years ago, I was asking her, what should my brand be? What should my brand be? And she said something that I'll never forget, and I'd like to share with you. And she said this, Maurice, when it comes to your brand, sometimes you will find your brand, or your brand will find you. And in this case, guess what? My brand found me. So we got to be really patient with ourselves. So This brings up another good point, Kathy. I'm glad you brought this up. I don't want people to wait until their brand shows up, until they're ready to speak. I'm going to tell everybody out there, start speaking now. If you're not sure of your brand, start speaking now, because guess what? Either you will find your brand or your brand will find you. And I was fortunate enough that pretty much my brand found me. About 5 years ago, a group of us were sitting around in a mastermind. Real quickly, here's an interesting story. A group of us were sitting, and and I had so many different brands up until that point. I have a collection of business cards, because every brand, I created a business card. So I had this collection of business cards, and I got fed up. I didn't like the previous brand. I said, I got to do something. So a group of us sat around, and we're toying with the idea. Now, I like the idea of mentor. I really like that idea of being a teacher, being someone that's on your side, a caring person. I think that's a little bit more warmer and fuzzier than a coach. Then during the course of the discussion, a friend of mine, the person in the mastermind, said, Maurice, why is it that when people say, oh, Domino, oh, you must be Italian? And I always correct them. I go, no, I'm Sicilian. They go, why do you do that? Well, I'm 100% Sicilian. And then somebody said, oh, so you're the Sicilian mentor.
Bing, the light bulb.
And that's it. Big light bulbs, fireworks, the 4th of July, and that's it. The brand was born. So from that point forward,
that's an awesome story.
Oh yeah, definitely. But here, the point of that is that I didn't wait for that brand before I started speaking. I had my topic, presentations that sell. I want to teach people how to move them from their seats to the back of the room so that they do purchase your product, sign up for your service, or donate their time and their dollars to your charity. I didn't wait for that. So I just want to make sure that everyone watching and listening, that just be patient. Your brand will find you, or you will find your brand, but I want you to get out there and start speaking. And any opportunity you can, go out there and start speaking.
I'd like to share with folks real quickly that exactly what you're talking about is what Kathy and I are going through at this very moment. And without revealing anything, Kathy, don't worry, don't hate me for saying this, but we're in the process of changing our very brand of this show. And that came through extremely, incredibly good advice from one of our mentors, who explained that, Internet Citadel, I mean, how do you spell that? We hear that all the time. How do you spell that? InternetCitadel.com. What does that mean? What do you guys do? It did not portray any kind of message, and we understood that right away. We decided not to wait, and we just said, let's run with this, and we'll worry about the details of rebranding later if we have to.
Yes.
And we are in the process of doing that very thing. So exactly what you are saying, Maurice, we are living right through that very moment. So those that are watching, that's just another, what do you call it? Arrow in your cap, or a feather in your cap? Sorry, not arrow. That hurt. Ouch. For Maurice. Those Sicilians, they're tough. They put arrows in their caps, not feathers. But
they're tough. I definitely want to kill you. Put an arrow through your head.
Yeah, but definitely, what he's saying is absolutely true. So it adds more to the truth of what Maurice brings to the table and the message he's giving to all of us. Be sure to get his book. That's on that website. You just click on that link below. Go ahead, Kathy.
What I was going to say is, Maurice, if any of our viewers get involved in public speaking or making money from the stage, and they obtain your blueprint or get involved in your boot camp series, what would their life look like in 30, 90 days, 60, 90 days? How much of a change is that going to make in what they do?
I mean, they're going to see, I believe this, and I have it documented with people that have read the book as well as attended the boot camp. They're going to see a major change in their bottom line, because I don't mince words about this. A lot of people accuse me, Maurice, you're interested in money, and what I always say to people like that is, you better believe it, I'm interested in money, because you better believe it. They say this: happiness makes the world go round, but money sure greases the axle. I never forget one of my mentors is Tony Robbins. He said, Maurice, my objective is I want to reach every single person on this earth. Do you know how much money that's going to take? And that just totally put into perspective for me. Because again, if you have a product, if you have a service, if you have a charity that you believe is worthwhile, let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen, you want everybody to know that. And you gotta, as my father would say, you gotta fuel the monster, you gotta fuel the beast. And the fuel that in this world, in this commodity, is money. We got to make that transaction. So what people are going to notice using the template, going to the boot camp, they're going to see a difference in their bottom line. They're going to see a difference in their per cap. In other words, they're going to see more people heading to the back of the room. They're going to see more people signing up for their service. They're going to see that there's going to be more of a transaction, even if it's an informational transaction. Even if it's like, hey, you know, I'm really interested. How do I get a hold of you? Hey, I'm really interested. I want that CD package. Yeah, I'm really interested in this. How do I take advantage of that drink, that elixir, that powders, or whatever it may be? Or you know what? Yes, this is a great cause. Where do I sign up? Where can I donate my time? So you're gonna see a lot. You're gonna see a shift in the way you deliver. First off, a shift in that every time you're going to go up for a presentation, your fear is going to be decreased. Number one, your fear is going to be decreased because you're going to be prepared. Not only that, you're going to be structured so that when you're delivering that message, you know exactly what you're going to say next, so that when an audience member or anything happens in your audience, it could totally throw you. It'll keep your presentations alive, fresh, so that you could deliver them over and over again, so that you get re-invited back again and again, and that's what we want. We want to get invited back as many times as possible, and that at the end of our presentation, we do create that transaction. And to give you a perfect example of that, at my last boot camp that we did this past February, a gentleman took the boot camp. It was a weekend long, and he said that Wednesday, 3 days later, that Wednesday, he was at one of his functions for You Send It, Send Out Cards, excuse me. And one of the three speakers didn't show up. So they asked him, would you mind filling in? Because he's a very dynamic speaker. And he said, Maurice, prior to your boot camp, I would have said no, because that's an impromptu situation. No way. But he said, well, wait a minute. I went to the boot camp. I have the template in place. All I need to do is take my message, put it on top of the template. I know the direction I'm going because the template will guide me there. Sure, why not? Let me do it. Sure enough, he did his presentation. And wouldn't you know it, Kathy? That out of all the three speakers, he got the highest evaluations, and he got the most people back at his back of room table than all the other speakers combined. So you're going to see a lot of reaction. In 30 days, 60 days, and 90 days, I guarantee you will see a difference in your bottom line.
So fantastic. It sounds like the key ingredients are know the topic on which you are speaking, number one. That bodes with confidence. And number two, I just had a moment, one of those senior moments. It just slipped my mind what I was going to say for number two. But when you're public speaking,
okay,
you need to think on your feet. So I'm going to do just that. But what was number two, Kathy? You're
so you know what that's a good segue to what are the specific roadblocks that typically prevent your students from getting started?
Well, again, the number one roadblock we see, again, is that fear of public speaking. Is that fear. So, again, by having as much resources handy to us, be it with my template or whoever, now we have that roadmap to follow. And I think the biggest roadblock that we have out there is, where do we begin? And I say, let's begin at the beginning. And what we got to do is this. We got to be clear on what is our message. What is your message? Now, I know you have great things to say. You have great presentation, great interactivity. But let's be clear about this. The biggest roadblock I see people doing is that they put together a presentation, but they don't begin with the end in mind. And what that is what do you want your audience to do? Your entire presentation, even the first words out of your mouth should be pointing to that direction. What is your message? What do you want your audience to do? So let's be clear on that. So even before you start formulating your opening, your body, your close, let's be clear. What is your message? What do you want your audience to do by the time you end your presentation? So those are some of the roadblocks I see with the clients that I work with. Another one we mentioned is about tooting our own horns. In other words, I can't tell them that story, or am I allowed to say that story? Why not? As long as you give credit where credit is due, if you're talking about other people's stories, and if you're talking about your story, your rags to riches story, why not? You're making it human. You're making it real. Not only that, you're making yourself real on top of that stage. So let's get these roadblocks out of the way. So let's start at the beginning. What do I want my audience to do? What is your message? I call this the log line, L-O-G, the log line. We got to script that out. We got to craft that out. So we got to be crystal clear. What is our message? What do I want my audience to do? Then we go into crafting, creating our presentation, the open, body, and close. And again, by having this template, by having this roadmap, it decreases our fear, again, getting rid of another roadblock. So again, I don't care what skill level you're at, from a beginner to advanced, let's surround ourselves with as much positive information as possible, so that every time we make a presentation, we're increasing our betterness. Wow, I just created a new word. Our betterness. We're doing better every time. We're developing, and that's the idea. And that's the idea. We want to make sure that every time we do a presentation, we're just increasing, doing it a little bit better each and every time. And again, going back that by tweaking it, and that's what I love about public speaking. Right now, I have a presentation that I've been doing for the last 5 years, the same presentation. But every time I present it, I do a little nip and tuck here, a little refresh, so that it's fresh for me, and not only that, it's fresh for my audience. So again, let's get those roadblocks out of the way.
Well, I think that Brian is unroadblocked. I just have a sense.
I've got it.
Are you unblocked?
I am unblocked.
I knew it.
Maurice had just hit on it. He read my mind, Kathy. I was waiting for you to do that, but he did. I'm a little disappointed. No, I'm just kidding. No, it was the roadmap.
Sorry.
As many of you have heard, repeatedly Maurice has used the term roadmap and template. All of that is in written form, available for you right now, as you can see on the screen, via his new book, The Art of Public Speaking. Again, it's in hard copy and in ebook form now. Very convenient for you to get a copy of that. Simply go to his website, mauricedamino.com, or click on either his nose up there or the banner down there. You will find it on his homepage if you scroll down. I'd like to actually touch a little more on this boot camp notion that you have, Maurice. You have this fantastic book. Kathy and I have both read it. It's phenomenal. I really, really like it. It gives it step-by-step, very simple for even the newbie, as I like to call even ourselves. We're not on stage, we're on virtual television here. But it's packed with information, but I sense that there is more, that there needs to be more to really, really push this thing over the top for someone who's really serious about engaging in maybe a career in public speaking or in advancing their current position at their job that they're working now. So if you don't mind, could you go over a few key points of what that boot camp involves and how people can get to it and enroll?
Definitely. My boot camp is an extension of the book. I want to make sure that people do take this asset, public speaking, and use it to the best of their ability. So what I've done is I created an interactive boot camp. It's the Art of Public Speaking Presentations That Sell Boot Camp. And what it is, we bring the book to life. And just as I suggest in my book, Golden Nuggets, we go step by step in this boot camp, so that, guess what, this is not just about theory, Brian. Kathy, people are not just sitting on their coolie, as we say in Sicilian, and just taking copious notes. No. What I want people to do is this, and I guarantee this, at the end of this boot camp, you will have crafted your presentation.
Wow.
So this is not just a talking heads presentation. We go over certain aspects, certain tips and techniques from the book, and then I'll turn around and I'll say, okay, now you, the audience members, go out in work groups. I put them in like 6 to 10 in a group. They write out whatever we discussed using their presentation, their product, their service, whatever it is. And I want people to walk out of my boot camp with their presentation started and crafted. I guarantee that. And that's what I think, in that story I said before about Robert, what helped him so much, because he already crafted his presentation by the end of that boot camp. So that was one of the things I want to do. I didn't want to have a theory-based boot camp. I wanted a practical, easy to use, and important, an interactive boot camp. I wanted people to walk out of there with, yes, with the knowledge, with the template, but better yet, having their presentation. I want to be clear, not my presentation, but their presentation crafted out following the golden nuggets that I share with them. So we go step by step, as my father would say, piano, piano, easy, easy. We go through it. So it's digestible, you understand the concept. Better yet, you go off, you write it out, you incorporate it into your message, and then guess what? I bring everybody back in, and then I select certain people from the audience, and guess what? You get up on your feet and you present your message right then and there so that the Sicilian mentor can coach you right then and there. So it's highly interactive. So you walk out of there, because I believe this, not only do certain select people get coached on the spot, but even the people who are watching me coach people, they're getting coaching tips, because I believe, as I'm saying it to one person, it could apply to a vast majority of people in the audience. So I invite everyone to join us at this boot camp. It's highly interactive, and whatever your message is, trust me, we'll figure out what your message is. Then the 3 days are consecutive. Whatever we talked about on Friday will help you through as we progress through Sunday. So we go step by step, piano, piano, so that you get your message. You get your opening talking points. You get the way. You get your golden nuggets. You get your interactivity. You get to close the sale all the way up until the conclusion, so that by Sunday afternoon, you have your presentation crafted. Guaranteed.
I'm sensing some real passion here. Capiche?
You know what? I am getting a sense.
Capiche, yes, capiche.
Yeah.
Oh, and let me tell you something.
Yeah, capiche.
No, I was going to say, at the very beginning, if Brian and Kathy, when you come, first thing I do is I make everybody a family member. I make everybody Sicilian.
All right.
Mamma mia, everybody becomes Sicilian, and that's it. We're part of the family. And again, family comes first. I want to make sure everybody is successful.
Well, is pasta included in there anywhere? I love pasta.
Well, yes, in fact, funny you should make mention of that. On Saturday, if you become part of the VIP group, which is very Italian person or very important paisan, we have our Saturday pasta party.
Oh, I love it.
Oh,
yeah. So when you go to my website, you'll see join the family, family member. Part of that is you have the pasta party on Saturday. So yes, there is pasta.
Right on.
Love it, love it. You know what? I get a sense from the boot camp, just from what you've shared with us here in the past few minutes, that for those people who have not, the light bulb hasn't gone on through their branding, this may be an excellent venue for them to attend, because it might just be what they need, not only in learning how to do the public speaking, but also come up with a brand. We were talking about networking earlier, and how important, Brian and I talk about this all the time, how important it is to go to events and boot camps and summits. And what a great place to come and be taught by somebody like you in public speaking, but also maybe have the opportunity to have their light bulb turned on like yours was in a brainstorming session. So it could be fantastic for many, many reasons.
I agree with Kathy, because remember, when we send people off into their groups, they stay with that group through the entire weekend. So relationships are born. That closeness is born. People, when they walked out of the boot camp, they said this: Maurice, this was a unique experience. Not only did I learn how to craft my message, but I met some fantastic people. I felt like I belonged to a unique community. And that's what it's about, because it comes from my passion. I love public speaking, and I think that's what happens. I transfer that to the audience, so that by the end of it, here, I have a great story for you. We had a gentleman by the name of Dr. Chin. All right, so from Virginia, came out to Los Angeles, and again, I teach people how to be Sicilian. So the first thing I teach people to do is to hug each other, right? So every Friday morning, I saw Dr. Chin, and we bowed to each other. Saturday morning, we bowed to each other. Sunday morning, I go, okay, I finally got it. I finally got it. So when Dr. Chin approached me, I go, hello, Dr. Chin. I was about to bow. Dr. Chin comes up and gives me a great big hug. So it's a unique experience. Oh, it's fantastic, and it's unbelievable what people, just the good time we have, great information, and again, just to be sure, yes, they'll walk out of there with great relationships, their message, and who knows, maybe a byproduct out of it by talking to people, having me coach them, having me critique them right there, or watching me critique other people. They may get that information on what their brand may be, or gets closer to it. So definitely, it's a unique and exciting experience.
That's awesome. Well, you want to know something? This happens every week, and Brian was talking about keeping you here for 2 hours, but we are an hour show, and it is already after 7 o'clock. Can you believe
wow.
the we were saying
how
quickly an hour goes by? It just flies by. You have been just an absolute delight, and I know that Brian's going to talk here in a minute, but I have learned so much, and I know that our viewers have too, and it's so exciting that we're recorded, because this is going to be one that everybody's going to want to hear. And I hope that for anybody that's listening, that they will absolutely read your book and go to the boot camp, because Brian and I are going to be there. But before I say goodbye and good night, for me, and thank both you, Maurice, and my dear friend Brian, we had Kim, one of our friends that's a viewer. In fact, her husband's going to be on our show here in a few weeks. One question, she wanted to know, what was the most important thing that you did to get started? I'm going to bow out and say, God bless. Thank you so much for coming on the show tonight, and I'm going to turn it back to you guys.
Great. To answer that, what is the most important thing? Again, not to use public speaking as a robot. Just get out there and start speaking. So Kim, everyone else listening in on the live or the recorded, I encourage you, just get out speaking, even if it's in your living room, to loved ones, or to the Staples Center, or to the Astrodome, wherever it may be. Start speaking.
Excellent. This is part 1 of our show. Part 2 begins in about 30 seconds. So for those of you, no, I'm just kidding. We really, really, yeah, we would love to keep Maurice on. Believe me, I have questions coming out of everywhere, the woodwork. But I want to part with this. Be sure to obtain a copy of his book. If you do nothing else, get a copy of his book, The Art of Public Speaking. It is available on his website at mauricedamino.com. Click on his nose, click on the link beneath us, and grab a copy. It doesn't cost that much. It's so worth the 96 pages worth of valuable information that come with it. Kathy and I are very passionate about this topic as well. We capiche very well of what Maurice was talking about. And when I read it, I just said, Mamma mia, that was a lot of information. It is an incredible book. It's a great read. Maurice, I can't thank you enough for coming on to our show. We know that you are very busy, obviously, by the fact that you've done 1,500 presentations in 5 years. That's unbelievable. And we know you're doing a marathon.
Thank you.
If you really quick want to mention that, what that causes for, I'd love to give you time to air that as well.
Oh, great. Well, there's actually 2 things I'd like to say. Regarding the cause, right now I am practicing for the Disneyland half marathon through AIDS Project Los Angeles. It's a program here that you raise money to run in the Disneyland half marathon. So if people check out my Facebook, I've been documenting my practices. I may be the Sicilian mentor, but I'm not how physically fit I am. So I'm doing that as a great cause. I'm a big believer in giving back. That's something that I learned from my mom, Nancy M. Domino. And you may want to check out the scholarship on my website. So that's definitely a cause that I'm near and dear to, which is a scholarship, and now AIDS Project Los Angeles through the Disneyland Half Marathon. But if I may, Brian and Kathy, as a way of saying thank you to you and the people who joined us live, and even for the recording, I'll do this as a way of saying thank you. When for people who like to attend the boot camp, which is October 22nd through the 24th. How about this? Whatever the price is at that particular moment, if they use the coupon code Citadel, it will take $100 off the price. So right now it's the early bird special of $197. You use the coupon code Citadel, so right now general admission will be $97, and if you're part of the Sicilian Mentor family, which is right now is $297, you use the coupon code Citadel, and it's spelled somewhere. These guys have been pointing. Just use the Citadel, and it'll reduce $100 because again, from beginner to expert, I'm going to encourage you to come on out. It's at the Westin LAX, so it's really convenient. Fly in. It'll be well worth it. And because you're going to walk out of there beginner to expert with your message crafted, but better yet, how to get your product, your service, your charity to create a transaction at the end of it. So as my way of saying thank
Awesome.
you. Great. I enjoyed myself so much here, and thank you so much for this
Thank you.
opportunity, Kathy and Brian.
We are definitely going to have you back, my friend. We'll just have to work out a date. But Kathy, I want to say thank you so much you are the glue that holds this show together. You can take
Sorry.
phone calls with cool little
Sorry.
dance tunes while we're in the middle of the show. It's great. You just do everything, multitasking.
Sorry.
She's multi-talented, multitasking. She can do it all. That's why she's my business partner. Now, I always tell everybody she's my business partner, and you can't have her. All right. I want to thank you, Maurice, once again. We are
Very, very sweet.
we are well past the end of our allotted time. We do appreciate everyone, and we respect your time, as well as Maurice, your time as well. We thank you so much once again. We will be on again. When are we coming on again next, Kathy? Is it next week or a week beyond that? I don't remember. Well,
Next Tuesday.
okay.
Next Tuesday.
For those of you that want to know about the next show that's coming on, be sure to click on the notify link right above us here somewhere. I don't know which way I'm pointing, but near the top of this page, and just opt in. And all we ever do is tell you about our next upcoming show. We do not spam or sell anything on that list. We just alert you of a new and upcoming show, who's going to be on, and also where to find the recorded shows, such as the one we're recording at this very moment. Once again, this is Brian Kelly on behalf of Kathy Stover, Maurice Domino. We would like to say thank you to all, and to all have a very good night. And that's not a Christmas story. All right, good night, all. Thank you very much.
Good night.
Good night.